In these mid-2020s, when the world feels louder than it used to be and our days blur under the soft buzz of screens, there's a quiet truth we keep pushing aside. Most people overlook this because exhaustion has a way of disguising itself as normal. But if we're honest with ourselves, we're living through a moment when 6 out of 10 adults drift through life half awake, pulled between the demands of a restless culture and the body's simple plea for restoration. And the paradox is that the very society asking us to stay connected, productive, responsive is the one fraying at the edges because we can't remember what a rested mind feels like. So I find myself wondering, in a time when everything urges us to stay alert, what would it mean to finally choose rest? Now, this didn't happen overnight. Back in the early 21st century, we started carrying the world in our pockets, calendars, crises, conversations, all compressed into glowing rectangles. At first, it felt like a miracle, until the miracle kept us up at 2 in the morning. As the years rolled on, the digital glow seeped into bedrooms, kitchen tables, the moments before dawn when anxiety takes its quiet shape. And by mid-2025, researchers were telling us what many already felt in their bones. Chronic sleep deprivation wasn't just a nuisance. It was a public health shadow stretching across communities, heightening depression, weakening immunity, eroding the very focus a modern society depends on. Economists put a price on it, billions lost in productivity, but most folks measured the cost in irritability, in forgotten conversations, in yawns that felt a little heavier every month. And beneath all that data was an ethical tension we rarely name. A world designed for constant motion colliding with an ancient rhythm that asks us to pause, to breathe, to trust that stepping away doesn't mean falling behind. That tension between modern demands and sacred rest has become one of the defining struggles of our era. When I think about it, I remember my own journey with fatigue, the kind that settles into your bones during long campaigns, or the kind you carry into the Oval Office when the night briefings feel endless. I wasn't immune to that pull of late night screens, scrolling through reports, even when Michelle would give me that look that said, it can wait. And I'll tell you, it rarely felt like it could wait. But adulthood has a way of teaching you what ambition doesn't. That a tired mind makes small problems look big and big problems feel unsolvable. I learned that lesson as a community organizer on the south side of Chicago, sitting in church basements with families, juggling 2 jobs, wondering how they'd get a decent night's sleep with sirens outside and shift work inside. Later, as president, I saw how the health gaps you read about, the ones that divide neighborhoods by opportunity, also divide nights by rest. Some folks had bedrooms full of peace, others had no such luxury. And somewhere along the way, I realized that sleep isn't just personal wellness, it's a measure of dignity, a measure of whether the world around you gives you space to breathe. So when experts tell us that well-rested people are nearly 50% more likely to thrive mentally, I think back to the classrooms I visited, the factory floors, the town halls, all those weary faces doing their best on too little renewal. And I can't help but think we owe one another better than that. Because if you step back, sleep teaches us something fundamental about being human. It reminds us that even in a society obsessed with speed, the body insists on patience. It insists on rhythms that can't be hacked or outsourced. And in that humility lies a broader truth about democracy itself. You can't build trust on exhaustion. You can't sustain empathy when you're running on fumes. You can't hope to bridge divides when every conversation feels like a burden. A well-rested citizen thinks more clearly, listens more generously, resists the easy temptations of fear or cynicism. Sleep in its quiet way becomes a kind of civic virtue, a form of preventive renewal that strengthens not just the individual, but the community. And yes, there's tension. Technology tugs at our attention. Inequality shapes who enjoys the luxury of silence at night. Crises demand leaders who stay level headed even when the world tilts toward chaos. But resilience isn't forged in a single heroic gesture. It grows slowly in routines that heal us, the dimming of a screen, the discipline to step back from constant noise, the faith that rests today will help us rise tomorrow. So when I think about sleep improvement in 2025, I don't just see a self help trend or a wellness fad. I see a moral test, one that asks whether we can reclaim the simple habits that ground us, whether we can build systems that give every person a fair shot at renewal, whether we can choose a path that honors the quiet soil where hope takes root. And as we move through these restless years with challenges that blur the line between personal and collective well being, I keep coming back to a simple belief in reclaiming our nights. We rebuild the strength to lift each other. What would happen if we treated rest not as indulgence, but as responsibility? What kind of nation might we become if we allowed ourselves and one another enough stillness to think clearly again? And in a world that never seems to sleep, what might we rediscover in the dark?